Despite the inquiry made by Lord Laming, yet another child was killed, one that would forever change the landscape of child protective services. It centered around a baby named Peter Connolly that was born on the 1st of March 2006 into a world that was filled with chaos and neglect. Peter's mother, Tracy Connolly, was a young woman with a troubled past. She's been in and out of relationships with men with troubled criminal pasts and backgrounds. She would choose the wrong type of man to be in a relationship with that would also cause harm and instability to her alongside her son. Her boyfriend at the time, Stephen Barker, and his best friend, Jason Owen, were particularly dangerous. They were practically deranged individuals that were very violent. They had a lengthy criminal past. And Tracy allowed these men to bring significant harm and abuse to her son. So from the moment Peter was born, he was in a position where everything was unpredictable, dangerous, chaotic. It was just so upsetting. He would enter a world with unpredictability, abuse, chaos, and face unimaginable challenges. As Peter grew up, signs of neglect and abuse was apparent. Tracy would leave him many hours in the car, completely dirty and unattended. The home was a chaotic environment, faced with shouting and violence. The neighbors noticed bruises and marks on Peter's small body. They could also hear his cries through the thin, run-down apartment that they lived in. Health professionals that met him did raise concerns. Despite reporting his injuries, they knew these injuries were inflicted by another person, and it isn't a typical childhood injury where a child runs and they fall on their knees and scrape their knee. Those things are completely normal. However, with Peter, he had gashes, marks, and bruising. A lot of swelling and bruising. He was beaten black and blue, and he can't even walk yet. He was only a few months old. He was just a baby. Yet, despite these alarming signs, Peter was still left in the care of his mother, Tracy. The system has failed Peter repeatedly. Social workers, teachers, medical staff expressed their concerns. However, he seemed to be slipping through the cracks. Nobody acted quickly enough. Many people blamed bureaucracy, when you file paperwork and you flag up concerns, you whistleblow, and it just takes too long to get a response back. It's the time gap. By not acting quick enough is what's causing more significant harm to a vulnerable child, because they are at home, defenseless, by deranged adults that are attacking said child. And it's just so frustrating when things like this happen, because abuse is happening behind closed doors. So in the summer of 2007, Peter's injuries became even more extensive, even more serious. Tracy's, influenced by her volatile relationship with Stephen and Jason, allowing them to cause significant harm to her child. She watched them attack her baby over and over again. They treated him with utter cruelty, leaving more than 50 injuries on his body. This includes bone fractures and bruising. On a baby, the abuse escalated to another depraved level when there were bite marks found on Peter's body. Not even an animal would do that to its young. They found bite marks on his body. On August 3rd, 2007, after relentless abuse going on for months and months, Peter was discovered lifeless in his home. The cause of death was obviously the horrific abuse that he has endured by 3 adults. The news shocked the nation. The outcry was immediate, because how could a child, a baby, be subjected to such horrific abuse, and nobody did a thing. Nobody lifted a finger. Why was he left in this horrific situation? Why didn't anyone help him? What makes this even more infuriating is that Peter was sent to the hospital, and it's clear as day that a baby wouldn't be covered in cuts and bruises and bite marks. But the hospital staff, yet again in North Middlesex Hospital, where Victoria Columbier was treated, also didn't flag up the abuse. And when they did, nobody followed up, and they took too long to respond, leaving Peter in a dangerous environment with his deranged mother, boyfriend, and a weird best friend that's living with them. So Tracy, Stephen, and Jason were arrested and charged in 2008. They were convicted of allowing and causing a death of a child, a crime that will haunt them for the rest of their lives. Tracy was sentenced to 5 years. However, she only served a part of her sentence and she was released. There was a huge media scrutiny on why she was released. She should have been serving a whole life order. And yet, for some reason, this woman is released, and she's released till this day. She's out there walking free. She was released in 2013, and she was sent back to prison for a short time, and she was released again for violating parole conditions. Her conditions were to not speak to individuals with violent criminal pasts, and yet she kept doing that. And she wasn't also allowed to live in a particular area in North London, and yet she was found at that particular location. They won't tell us where it is for obviously confidential reasons, but she just hasn't changed. She's a terrible human being. She's a baby killer, just like Lacey Anthony, I forgot her name. She also was convicted of killing her child in 2008 and somehow was seen not guilty. And these women have killed their own children, still managed to walk free. So justice wasn't served. However, Jason did get 3 years and then he got released too. However, with Stephen, he's serving a whole life order. This case led to inform significant changes in the child protection policies across the UK. And yet, Lord Laming made another report expressing how it is imperative for individuals that are involved in child protection to communicate with one another effectively. So all of the service users, such as the police, teachers, social services, everybody needs to really focus on the welfare of the child, because the child is the center of everything, and everybody that is dealing with the child needs to take proper action. And the quality of care, especially in North London, when it comes to child protection services, it is just out of the window. This is yet a tragic case where a child has been failed by the system, and the list of child deaths in the UK is endless, unfortunately. If you reached this far in the video, thank you, I appreciate you. However, in 2012, yet another high-profile child murder case came to light. Yet another public inquiry was launched. Daniel Pelka, a 4-year-old boy that came from Poland to the UK, was tragically killed by his mother and her boyfriend. Yet another senseless murder of a beautiful child. So this leads us to the end of today's case. I don't know how to end these cases, I really don't. But I do hope you guys stay safe and hydrated. I will see you guys in my next one. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.